All right, for today's explainer, we're going to step into a really strange and wonderful corner of the imagination. We're talking about a universe that isn't woven from matter, but from light and thought itself.
Seriously, just think about that for a second. What if every single idea, every memory, every feeling you've ever had wasn't just in your head, but was actually a glowing fiber in some huge cosmic web? That's the wild idea we're going to dive into today.
So, to get us through this crazy concept, we need a guide, right? Well, meet our guide for this journey, a small but super curious being named Groklet.
And I just love this description. This isn't some scary, intimidating alien, you know? It's squishy, it's expressive, it communicates through telepathic vibes. The best way to picture it? Think of a living lava lamp, but with a single, kind of mischievous eye.
So, what's Groklet's deal? It's all about curiosity. They're kind of an oddball, a bit of a rebel who thought their home was, well, just a little too cozy, a little too perfect. So what did they do? They hitched a ride on a passing comet to go explore the messier, more real parts of the universe. Places kind of like our world.
Okay, so a creature like Groklet has to come from somewhere, right? They're part of a species known as the Lumora.
And the Lumora? They are absolutely fascinating. I mean, they evolved in this swirling cloud of sentient gas and plasma. It's called the Lumineth Veil, a place where ideas literally glow as bright as stars.
And what's really wild is just how different they are from us. I mean, their bodies, totally fluid. Their colors actually change based on what they're thinking. And they talk through what's described as, like, mental music. And get this is crucial. Their whole society has no leaders. None. Decisions are made through this sort of collective emotional agreement.
So you're probably asking, how on earth does a society like that even work? Well, it all boils down to one central, totally mind-bending idea: their collective consciousness.
This is what they call the thought weave. And it's everything to them, the absolute cornerstone of their entire culture. And it's not some kind of tech, you know. It's a living, breathing, evolving tapestry of consciousness, and it's woven from the Lumora themselves.
Maybe the best way to wrap your head around it is to think of a living, glowing internet, but instead of data, it's made of light and feelings. Yeah. So forget about data packets. This network runs on pure thought and pure emotion, and it just flows instantly between every single member of the species.
And this thought weave does a bunch of things. It's their library, it's their government, it's their art studio, all rolled into one. So if one Lumora feels joy, that feeling just ripples through the whole network, kind of tinting everyone else's thoughts with that same warmth.
You can imagine how this completely flips the idea of self on its head. For us, we have a pretty solid sense of I, right? But for a Lumora, their identity is way more fluid. It's constantly mingling with the collective. They do have to anchor themselves with this unique psychic signature. They call it a core spark, just so they don't totally dissolve into the whole thing.
All right, let's zoom out. We've been inside their minds. Now let's look at their entire cosmology. How do the Lumora actually see the universe itself?
See, for the Lumora, the universe isn't just a bunch of stuff. It's a piece of music, a grand composition. And the thought weave? That's their way of singing along, of harmonizing their collective mind with the fundamental rhythms of existence.
And their creation myth is just beautiful. It starts with total silence. Then, a single note of pure potential emerges. That note splits into two, and their dance literally weaves the fabric of reality. Every star, every nebula, every mind, they're all just new notes being added to the melody.
But, and this is where it gets really good, it's not all perfect harmony. Even for a species that's completely in tune with the cosmos, there are things that just don't quite add up.
It turns out this perfect cosmic song, it has glitches. The Lumora can sense these missing beats, these weird, jarring dissonances. And they sense hints of something else entirely, a rival tune, humming in the background, one that seems to resist the harmony.
Groklet actually has a name for this rival tune, the shadow melody, and it's the polar opposite of the universal song. It's cold, it's sharp, it's dissonant. And the Lumora, they only ever catch a hint of it during these rare moments when the thought weave gets disrupted.
And this all leads to the biggest mystery of them all, something the Lemuria call the silent notes.
So what are these silent notes? They're described as these deep, almost physical holes in reality, like a beat just dropped out of the song. And that's not the only mystery. There are times when the song seems to skip, like a record. There are even wandering stars that move totally off rhythm, singing their own weird tunes. And this stuff, these mysteries, this is exactly why Groklet left home in the first place, to go chase down the notes that the thought weave just couldn't explain.
And that really brings us to a final thought, doesn't it? If the Lumora are right, if the universe really is a song, what are the silent notes in our own world? What are the gaps, the dissonances in our own lives, in our own understanding of things? What are those strange silent moments that hint at a melody that's so much bigger and so much wilder than the one we think we know? Definitely something to chew on.